sounds like this. So yeah, that's pretty much the main portion of the beat. I do some other stuff over here. So I do some cuts because I really like cuts. Also doing that 4 on the floor with speed downs and slow ups. So what that does is kind of like a record stop. It's kind of nutty. I love it. I put it everywhere. But it sounds like this. So I mean, if you put that in a couple of different places, so I also put it on the kicks to help just like accent that, because I need more sounds that have that slide down. So it helped that out a little bit, and then I also put it on this pad down here because again, layers. Yep. So doing that makes it sound absolutely lovely with the entire beat, and I'm gonna get into the vocals in a bit. Fuck. That's what I want. All right. So that becomes a pretty cool technique. Love that. You know what I just noticed? This motherfucker. Oh, my screen froze. Son of a bitch. Alright, let's fix that. Can I do that live? We'll see. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, it worked. Alright. So I'm sorry that whatever was not visible for the past few minutes. Let's see what I was just talking about. You hear the slide downs. Cool. Next, I go into the verse. So essentially what I did is I stripped everything. So this is what the hook sounds like, or looks like. And then the verse comes in and it's just kick, clap, some like aux sparsely added in. Some stuff here, like no pads, no nothing. It's just the loop is what's keeping the harmonies going and vocals. So I will play the beat as of right now. Give me that. Yep. Okay, so I added in that pad again from the intro with movement, giving a little energy. Over here, just to bring it into the next part of the verse, so that I have like the A section of the verse, and here's the B section of the verse, which has hi-hats. I had some impacts to like kind of dictate, okay, here's the B section of the verse. And I'll get into how I kind of crafted this beat around the vocals in a second once I do those vocals. But yeah, so we have a couple of different sections here, so it kind of sounds like this. And one of the cool things I did there is I sampled some shit from a Naruto video game, because my boy Andrew was like, hey yo, can you please get this specific sound? And I said, say less. So that's pretty, like, I'm not over that. That shit sounds so good. Yeah, and I mean, everything is really the same since before. In terms of the beat, nothing's really changed. I just kind of copied and pasted things over. Don't tell anybody. And then at the end, the last hook, I actually ended up adding some guitar samples. So it's a little weird sounding because it's not perfect, and I had to put it in time, and the chords aren't exactly the same, but with how low it is in the mix, it kind of sounds okay. said, let's get to some vocals. So there's a very specific way I like to do vocals. Shout out Hansel. So first thing is I take my main track. This is just the lead vocals, and I'll get into the processing chain in a second.
Why we doing all this for fun? Isn't it time to move on? You go this way, I go that way, and hopefully we'll both be happy.
So that's, you know, it's just the main line, the melody. So what I have on it is Waves Renaissance de-esser on a wide male split, and that's just the first thing that I put in any processing for my vocals, as you'll see in a second. Next is I do some parallel compression and some subtractive and additive EQ, and all of it is really just plugins, or not plugins, presets. So I use control on the vocals, and then bring the gain up to -1. I put the vocal preset on first, so it cuts out a lot of the lows and kind of gives me some breathy. Next I use another compressor to bring them up front, and I leave the gain knob in the center. Second EQ, I do more little adding, but this EQ is a bit more active, so if you were to check out for a second if it plays.
Why we doing all this for fun?
It like moves around and kind of edits itself around the vocals. Afterwards, I put on Fresh Air, and my god, this is the cleanest high end ever, dog. This shit will make your vocals sound so crisp, so damn crisp.
Isn't it time to move on? You go this way, I go that way.
Like, they just cut now. They cut more. And last, not last, I have Waves real-time auto-tune. So I put it in B flat major because that's the key that it's in. Turn the speed all the way down, and then no transition almost all the way down, so that it doesn't sound too robotic like T-Pain. But for the most part, I ended up going into these vocals, all of them, and just like manually editing them before I put the auto-tune on it, so the auto-tune doesn't end up doing too much funky shit. But I had to toy around with these vocals quite a bit and move them around into places that they weren't even close to, so you know, it sounds pretty damn okay for what I had to do.
Why we doing all this for fun? Isn't it time to move on?
Next thing that I have is it's going to ascend, bus 2. I'm pretty sure I just have room reverb, Valhalla room, and yeah, Logic default echo delay. So just very basic shit. And then I have that up a little bit. And that is the vocal processing chain. It's about the same on everything. I'll get into the different ones in a second. So next I have this little vocal thing right here that is just like, I took the first word here.
Why we doing all this for?
I took that and I cut it, I bounced it, I put reverb on it. I recorded the reverb, the tail end of the reverb, cut it so that it was just the reverb and not the word, and then I reversed that sample and it gave me this.
Why we doing all this for fun?
And so now there's kind of just like motion into the vocals, which like this is probably one of my favorite tricks. Like it adds a lot of, yeah. There's nothing really on that. Over here on this one, this is just a delay track, so I have it set about 4 beats later as like a manual delay, so that I could just have, I don't know why I like doing this, but it just sounds a little bit
you
better
go this way, I go that way, and hopefully we'll both be happy. Why we doing all this for fun?
And so that being said, I put this phone filter on it on Fab Filter Q, which kind of cuts the lows and the highs and gives you like a phone sound, which is kind of neat. Yeah, so just having like a little call and response, but not
you
really.
go this way, I go that way, and hopefully we'll both be happy.
Next up, I just have the left and right channels, so they are doubles and triples of this main track. So I end up, anytime I do vocals with anybody, I end up recording 3 takes so that I can do LCR. And if I were to unsolo it, you can see that certain parts are muted and certain parts aren't. and that's just because I'm not having it go throughout the whole thing. It's just for emphasis words. And then I have them equally panned left and right towards the middle, which honestly I should bring them in a little bit more. And that ends up sounding like this. Or not.
Why we doing all this for fun? Isn't it time to move on? You go this way, I go that way, and hopefully we'll both be happy. Why?
So yeah, it's just like it gives extra emphasis, especially since it's split up in left and right, so you can very distinctly hear three distinct voices, which is kind of sick. And then on top of that, I have myself singing another kind of response type thing.
All this for fun. That's for fun. Isn't it time to move on? Move on. You go this way.
Speaking of which, I need to put reverb on that shit because it is way too dry. And I know that it's on the bus, but it's not doing enough for me. So I'm gonna put reverb on it, and I put the wrong one. So I would like to fix that. I'm gonna use plate reverb for this. I don't know why. Sometimes I just like plate reverb a little bit better. I like it more on the saxophone and sometimes on certain vocals. So like backer vocals, so not really main vocals, I would put plate reverb on. Let me put you in a solid 20% and see how that sounds.
Isn't it time to move on? Move on. You go this way, I go that way. That way.
So yeah, just some call and response stuff. So with the entire beat, that's gonna sound like this.
Why we doing all this for fun? Isn't it time to move on? You go this way, I go that way, and hopefully we'll both be happy. Why we doing all this for fun? Isn't it time to move on? Move on. You go this way, I go that way, and hopefully we'll both be happy.
So onto the verse. Verse is just 3 separate sections that I chopped up and did overdubs for. But there's nothing really different going on over here. I think there's this track over here that's just like I put format shifting on it, yeah. Which ends up taking it and like making it sound deeper. Hey, please.
Delete my number, baby.
So I tuned it down an octave and then I format shifted it so that it sounded like deeper, like a different voice. And that's just kind of a response. It's another ad-lib that we put in there, but for the sake of this. So I got the verse first. He sent me his verse and recorded him like rapping it so that I understood his flow. And I made the beat around the verse. So what ended up happening was something pretty cool. So let's listen to it real quick.
And hopefully we'll all be happy. 1 step forward, 2 step backwards. Back, going through the same old pattern. Fumbling like 2 bad actors. What? Why? Struggling, trying to say the last words. Damn, never really been too good at goodbyes. Not really knew how to say this next line. Even my...
So let's go over that real quick. And also I need... No, never mind. I'm gonna move this here. And that should be better.
Never really been too good at goodbyes. Never really knew how to...
Yeah, that's better. So what I did first was he said 1 step forward, 2 step backwards. So within the beat, on 1 step forward, I did 1 step forward, and then on 2 step backwards, I reversed the sample. So it sounds like this.
1 step forward, 2 step backwards.
So kind of, you know, accented the fact that he was saying backwards, and it was like, oh, this is cool. And then next he says going through the same old patterns, and so I took the beat, chopped it up, and then copied the same portion over a couple of times to show repetitiveness, as in going through the same old patterns.
Back going through the same old pattern.
And then next, he said fumbling like 2 bad actors, so I ended up putting the rim in here, but I made it do like triplets downward, so it was caco. So
fumbling like 2 bad actors,
which is sick. And then next he says struggling trying to say these last words, and I ended up making it go brrr, because you know it's hard. Like you be struggling, the beat be struggling to load. You feel me? So
What? Why? Struggling, trying to say the last word.
next he says, never really been too good at goodbye. So I echoed that rhythm in the kick.
Damn, never really been too good at goodbye.
I gotta fix the timing of the vocals just a little bit, but that's pretty much it. Hello?
Never really been too good at goodbye. So, never really knew how to say this next line. Even my bag.
Next, it's just we add those aux in, and it's a bit more of the verse. So
Bag and feel the magic way. Trying to cast, forward fast, think about all the days we. That's in the past.
and then he says, but that's in the past. We're starting to crash, and so I added those glass breaking sounds again to signify the next part of the beat. But also, he said crash, and it sounds like a crash, so it's kind of sick.
That's in the past. We're starting to crash.
And then, like the Naruto sample, because Ino was like doing that motherfucking mind transfer jutsu or something, and she got to release it, you know, so he said he had to wake up. So that's why he wanted that sample in there, and it makes total sense, and it goes hard now, so check.
Wake up. Step out of the stream. I hit the scene. Been tripping on love since 2018. I'm feeling this way. But I in space.
The rest of the verse is just fairly normal.
Being changed the pace. What do you say? Come meet me halfway. Don't be scared. I wanted your answer. Do you want me to stay? Don't read me. Why are we doing all this for fun?
And then it's the same thing again. So at the end here, I'm gonna do a little bit more chopping and do a little beat switch, slow it down a little bit, and then I'm gonna put in my verse. So that's not in there yet, so don't worry about that. But yeah, that's the song. Afterwards, I put Ozone on it, which is a mastering plugin, so I put that on the stereo output track. And that shit always takes forever to load. Let's go pirated software. Excuse me. But what I did, I think I used depth and clarity. That's like my go-to preset for this motherfucker. If it wants to load, of course. Yeah, so I use depth and clarity, which is over here under all-purpose mastering. And yeah, I don't really fuck with the gain or anything over there, but on the main track I bring it down a little bit so that it doesn't like peak or like blow out my eardrums. But it's still relatively loud. I want to see, dude, let's see if it can show me how fucking loud it is without crashing, because it might just crash. Logic loves doing that when I put insight on it, especially on a track that's busting like this. But we shall attempt. Let's see how loud this song is. And then I'll do a playthrough, and that'll be it. Sweet Jesus. Come on. Come on. I gotta take a leak. Alright, I'm gonna put it on loudness metering. Fucking simple loudness metering USA, baby. Alright. Let's see how loud this thing is. That's so sad. That's so sad. Not even negative 12. Oh, say less. Say less. Say less. Say less. Keep going there. Keep going. Say less. My shit loud. Not loud enough, but it's loud. Alright. So we're hovering around 9.2, 9.3. That's kind of lit. I don't mind that. Like, there's another song off EP2 that's around -6, which is kind of fucking lit. But I can rock with -9 for now. Like, that's cool, man. Let me save this, and then I'll play the track. Hello? There we go. Sometimes it just eats up my commands. Let that thing save. And I'll play it. Just gonna let that thing load, and then we're chilling. Yes! Let's go! Alright, buddy, you can play now. Bruh, you just loaded. There we go.
Even my bag and feeling the magically. Ran a gas, I went fast, thinking about all the days we patch in the past, was starting to crash. When I wake up, step out of this dream, I hit the next seat, been tripping on love since 2018, I'm feeling too way. But I need some space, Scotty at me, changing the pace. So what do you say, come meet me halfway, I'm done with these games. I want your answer, do you want me to stay? Don't we be? Why we doing all this for fun? Isn't it time to move on? You go this way, I go that way, and hopefully we'll both be happy. Why we doing all this for fun? Isn't it time to move on? You go this way, I go that way, and hopefully we'll both be happy.
And that, as of right now, is This Way, That Way. Cheers.